Good morning, afternoon, evening, guys. We're back with another random tier list today in the second episode of our MLB 2022 free agent series. Today, we're going to talk about corner infielders. We're talking about first baseman and third baseman, the ones who are still free agents. So we won't be talking about Brandon Belt today or Yoshi Satsugo, who both already signed in November prior to the lockout. Which, by the way, I'm recording this before the lockout is over. Please tell me it's over by the time I've posted this. Oh my God, will we even get baseball this year? I don't know. I'm going to make this video to convince myself that we will. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about first and third baseman. You guys can see our tiers here. Same one as my catcher and DH ones, which will be in a card or description somewhere around here. I posted it yesterday. We have MVP, All-Star, Above Average, Mediocre, Serviceable Backup, Bad, He Still Plays, and Who. Let me know if I'm an idiot for not knowing some of these guys. Let me know if I'm crazy for knowing some of these guys. We're going to be starting up at the top with the guy, the man, Freddie Freeman, MVP. Recently won the MVP 2020, I believe it was. I'm getting my years all jumbled now. Can you believe it's already March of 2022? Crazy. Freddie Freeman here, MVP caliber. Whatever team gets him, they're going to pay a pretty penny because he is far and away the best first baseman free agent. The only one that was even coming close was Brandon Belt. And he took the qualifying offer from San Francisco. So and Freeman's younger and better. So, yeah, Freeman MVP. Next up, we got Anthony Rizzo, who had a down year last year. We've seen a regression in his power game, but he is still hitting for average. He is still walking. I think he has the potential to be an all-star. I think it definitely depends where he ends up, what team he ends up on. The Yankees, he was pretty good on there. And the tail end of last season, or was he on it the whole season? I'm not sure. I don't quite remember. But wherever he ends up, I do think he has a chance to be an all-star. Not a starting all-star, I wouldn't say, but definitely making that team. I could see that happening. I would not be that surprised. Next up, we have Brad Miller, Brad Miller is the first of several guys on this list who are or used to be utility players, and they're listed here on MLB. Getting my list from MLB directly. They're listed here on MLB as first baseman, so that's where I'm putting them. Brad Miller is an above-average option here. He used to be a second baseman and shortstop, but now that he's 32, I'm not sure he's going to be playing those as much, but he still does probably have the potential to. So I think that's a good thing as he's being added to, whatever team signs him. He does have the upside of hitting 30 home runs a year. I'm not sure how his average is these days. Might be closer to 200 than 300. But I do think he is an above-average option, nonetheless. Next up, we have Ryan Zimmerman, who, I'm going to be honest, guys, I did not know Ryan Zimmerman was still playing baseball. He's 37 years old. I assume he was just with the Nationals last year. I don't think he was starting. He could have been, though, and if he was, I'm embarrassed. But, yeah, I didn't know he was still playing. Colin Moran, serviceable. He was quietly pretty good for the Pirates. Pirates, I believe he was on last year. Quietly pretty serviceable for them. That said, I could not tell you a lot about him, and I'm going to put him in mediocre here. I do think he has what it takes to be a starting player, but I don't think he is above average. Daniel Vogelbach. Vogelbach probably should not be your starting first baseman, right? If he is, I hope the rest of your lineup's good. I mean, Vogelbach's a good hitter, but now that the league's moving towards a designated hitter on every team, he's probably going to end up being a DH, right? I would assume so. Despite he does actually have a positive WAR at .1. I'd say that Vogelbach is mediocre. I'm going to go ahead and put him in that yellow tier. Coming up here, we have Ronald Guzman. Guzman's a serviceable backup. I don't think he should be starting, but I do think he is worth rostering. He is worth signing. I think he could make a backup on a lot of different teams, and yeah. Danny Santana, another player who used to play a variety of positions. Haven't heard his name in a long, long time. He used to play on the Indians, the Red Sox, probably some other places. I think he was in Texas for a bit. I think he played everywhere, right? Everywhere but catcher. He's played outfield, first, second, third, short. So apparently now he's a first baseman, according to MLB. And again, he's a case of he probably shouldn't be your starter, but he's definitely a serviceable backup, even more so than Ronald. Guzman there because I do think he can back up multiple positions. Even at age 31, I do think he still has that potential there. Next up, we have Todd Frazier. Did not know Todd Frazier still played baseball, but he does. And he's only 36. I actually thought he was older than that. So it'll be interesting where he ends up. Does he have some more time left in him? We'll have to see. Speaking of time, Albert Pujols. Of course, I knew he still played. Pujols will probably end up starting somewhere. I'm going to be putting him up in mediocre. Despite his age, he's 42. The former MVP, he will, with that DH change, probably end up starting somewhere as a DH on probably a National League team that needs a DH, or even an AL one that needs one. And I think he's going to be a mediocre player at that position. I think he's going to be around that Daniel Vogelbach level, which is something to say about how great Albert Pujols has been throughout his career because he's still going to be that at 42, provided, of course, he wants to continue playing. There was rumors that he wanted to retire and whatnot, but he's on this list, and I'm not going to look into it further than that. Next up, we have Jose Marmolejos. He's not that great, is he? I couldn't tell you anything good about Jose Marmolejos. He's 29 years old. He has a negative .6 WAR. I know who he is, but yeah, I'm going to have to say bad there. And our last first baseman is going to be Mike Ford, who, yeah, same thing there. Mike Ford was kind of just in that revolving door of Rays guys last year, I believe. I do know the name, so I'm not going to put him down in that worst tier, but yeah, probably pretty bad. I don't think he has the chance really to be higher than that. Now we have third baseman coming up here, and there's a lot of third basemen that are out there. Only 3 third basemen have been signed so far. Eduardo Escobar was signed to the Mets. Anderson Tejeda was signed to a minor league deal with the Cardinals, and Johan Camargo was signed to a 1-year deal with the Phillies. That last one, a weird deal. I'm not sure how much money he got, but weird that he was signed so early. It does not say the date here. Anyway, as for the people who have not signed yet, we have 2 guys with a 4 WAR to start us off here. First, we have Kyle Seager for the first time in his career, I believe, a free agent. I think he's been on Seattle his whole career. I think Kyle Seager is going to be an above-average player, but he is now 34, and I don't know that he still has what it takes to be an all-star. The power is probably still there. The average, I don't know that it is. I don't know, how is his defense? I know his defense used to be great. I could see him in a couple years making the transition to first base. But he might still, he probably still has it for a couple years. 34 isn't that old, and he is still in shape. As far as I know. I'm not a Kyle Seager fanatic here. I think he's above average, though. Next up, we have Chris Bryant, 30 years old. I think Chris Bryant has what it takes to be an MVP still, but it's definitely borderline. I think he has more upside here than Anthony Rizzo. As an all-star, I think he's certainly going to be an all-star, provided that he doesn't just fizzle out. It definitely depends on where he signs, depends what offense he's in. And he does have that potential to play multiple positions for you. I mean, he's going to start at third base most likely, but he could play first. He could play outfield for you. So that's very exciting it's exciting for me because I love utility guys. I love guys that play multiple positions. So I'm going to be leaving that man, Kyle. Did I say Kyle Seager when I brought this guy up? Chris Bryant. Did I say that correctly? I don't know. I'm not going to re-record this. We do these videos in one take, guys. Chris Bryant, MVP, right next to Freddie Freeman there. Though if I'm a betting man, for Freddie Freeman has a much higher shot than Chris Bryant winning that award. Next up here, we have Jonathan Villar. I've always thought it was Villar, but I'm probably wrong about that. Jonathan Villar, I'm amazed that he's only 31. It seems like he's been in the league forever. And just when I thought he was bad, he proved that he wasn't bad, and he just keeps coming back. I think he is an above-average start. He can play multiple positions. He can play second, short, or third base. Don't know how much he can play short anymore, but yeah, I mean, he's only 31. He's not super, super old. He's been around forever, but I think he is an above-average option at third base. Matt Duffy, similar thing here. Hasn't been around as long as Villar in my brain, but he is the same age, 31 years old. I think he is an above-average option at third base. And I'm pretty sure Duffy can play other positions too. I think he's played some first and second before. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know who I'm thinking of. Hector Alberto. Wasn't he on the Orioles? This man was on the Orioles. Alberto is probably also an above-average option, and a younger one at that than Duffy and Villar, but one with less of a track record here. I guess he was on the Royals last year. I honestly, I did not know that information, but he was. So, yeah, there you go. I think he's an above-average option at third base, just with what's available. I do think there will be some third basemen making the transition to first, as some first basemen make the transition to DH, or some third basemen going all the way to DH themselves, because there will be 15 new DH positions opening up. And with that happening, a guy like Albert Pujols will not be starting anymore in the field. So, that third base position might open up for a guy like Hector Alberto to get the starting job and run with it. And I think as he does, he will end up being an above-average player. Maikel Franco, I think, will be a mediocre player. Franco had just all the potential in the world a couple years ago, and he really just has not achieved that. Though that said, he has not been bad. I do think he's a mediocre player, but I would not be super, super surprised to see him as an above-average player. Would be surprised to see him any higher than that, but I'm going to go ahead and leave him in mediocre here. Charlie Culberson here. 33 years old, .5 WAR. I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about Charlie Culberson. Like, I have heard of him, but I could not tell you a thing about him. I could not tell you the team he is on, other than the fact that I see that he has a Rangers hat. So, to be fair to people who do know who Culberson is, I'm putting him in who. And let me know in the comments if I'm an idiot for not knowing him. Ronald Torreyes. Probably mediocre, right? Probably an average start at third base. Definitely not one you're happy about. You know what? I'm going to say serviceable backup, because if he's starting for you at third base, you probably aren't happy. Castro here. Starlin Castro may be somebody you are happy to start at third base, though. Not ecstatic, but I think he is mediocre. At that position, I do think Starlin Castro is a better start than, for example, Ronald Torreyes. Next up, Jose Rondon. I don't know who Jose Rondon is. I'm sorry. I literally, when I searched this up, I thought I was looking up Anthony Rondon, and then I freaked out because I was like, he's not a free agent. And then, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who that is. Sorry. I do know who Ahiri Adrianza is. Jesus. Ahiri Adrianza. I am so sorry. I think he's a serviceable backup. I don't think he should be starting, but I do think he's a good player. And despite the fact of being 32 years old, well, God, that's older than I thought, actually. I think he's a serviceable backup. Asdrubal Cabrera, though, I'm very surprised he's still playing baseball. I am also surprised he's not 40 years old. I thought he was in a wheelchair. No, he's not that old. He used to be on the Mets, right? 36. Not anything to write home about for sure. He still plays? Question mark. Jake Lamb. Is this the year that Jake Lamb breaks out and earns that spot? People were talking about Jake Lamb being a top 10 third baseman at one point, talking about being an above average, potentially even an all-star caliber player, and he just really has not shown that. He has a 0 WAR, and he is now 31, so he is getting up over that hill. I do think he has a chance to still be a mediocre starter at the position. I do think a starting job for him is not out of the realm of possibility, and I do think he can run with that ball. But, yeah, I'd say that yellow tier right there is probably the extent of where we can put him. Travis Shaw, I'm also going to put up here in mediocre. I do think Travis Shaw could start at third base. I definitely think he'd be, one of the lower end players, but lower end at the third base spot, but overall mediocre of a player. I do think he could start in an MLB lineup in 2022. But he's getting up there. He's 32. Brandon Drury. Drury can play a couple different positions. I believe he can play second base. And if he can play second base, I actually like him better there, just in terms of, I don't know, second basemen are definitely not as bad as they used to be. Offensively. I'm thinking more offensively. Obviously, the defense is a whole other story. I don't know if Drury can play that, but I think he's a serviceable backup at third base. I don't think he should be starting at third base, but, we'll see what happens this season. Eddie Alvarez, I don't know who that is, but seeing as he's a Marlin, that is 100% the reason why. Brock Holt, the most legendary utility man of all time, ever. No, not really, but of my generation, Brock Holt is a hero. Playing literally every position and holding the eligibilities for pretty much every position in fantasy for years and years and years. He's a serviceable backup. I would love to say that he is mediocre, and at one point in his career, he was above average. It's also interesting to see that he's listed as a third baseman because I thought he was primarily playing first, but he can pretty much play everywhere, even at the age of 34. He could probably start in a number of different positions. I would say he's a serviceable backup. He's your backup for pretty much everything if you're assigning him to your team. Yeah, probably don't want him starting, though. Joe Panik. Joe Panik, I forgot, switched to third base, actually. And I wonder if his WAR here, because he has a -1 WAR. I wonder if his -1 WAR is overall or just at third base. Because I actually think Joe Panik is a mediocre player. At second base, he was above average for a while. And now he's just really dropped on that move to third. So, is it because he's at third, which is a better position historically offensively? I'm not sure why he's ranked so low in a lot of people's eyes here. I don't know how he did last year, to be honest. I'm not looking at his stats from last year, so let me know in the comments if he was just god-awful. He might have been. I don't know. He was on the Marlins, which I definitely did not pay a lot of attention to last year, so I don't know. I'm going to put him in mediocre. I think he has a chance to be a serviceable starter as opposed to serviceable backup. And then finally, we have Eldemaro Vargas, who I don't know who that is. He's on the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have some out-there players in terms of just coming out of nowhere. Yeah, don't know who that is. All right, what do you guys think about the list? If you are watching this in the future, is the lockout over? Can we finally watch baseball? Because despite the fact that it being March right now, there is no baseball on, and that makes me very, very sad. But at some point, hopefully, we'll get it back, and these men will be signed to teams. Here's what I think they bring to the table in terms of how good they will be for those teams. Let me know how I did. If you like tier lists, subscribe to the channel, like, all that kind of stuff. Definitely helps us out. And with all that said, guys, thank you for watching. This has been the guy who makes random tier lists, and I'm signing out. Have a good day.